How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Kick Report. Today we're going to be taking a look at the KD12, specifically the EYBL Peach Jam colorway. This shoe originally came out in 2019, but I'm just now getting my hands on a pair. I'm a big fan of the KD line, but growing up it wasn't always the best decision to get the $150 pair of shoes. So now I'm finally getting my hands on a pair. I'd love to bring that to you guys. Now this shoe was designed by Leo Chang, who did great work with the KD 1 through 15, and you can kind of see that inspiration going into this one. Before the KD11, it didn't really live up to the hype that people were expecting. The lockdown wasn't great and everything like that, and I definitely see the changes incorporated into the shoe, which we'll get into later. Additionally, this is my first time wearing the shoe. Now, like I said, this is my first time getting my hands on a pair, so I believe that, or I took it a little bit lighter on the shoe because it hadn't broken fully. So I just went off the things I could feel immediately. But with that being said, let's move on into comfort. So as for the KD12, it's going to be Nike's first shoe, or really hoop shoe, to have a stitched in full length zoom unit. And as you see there's the hex unit that's in the heel, and it's really cool. It's really nice. It's very bouncy, and I liked it. It was very responsive. We just talked about the KD17, and I felt it was a little bit more responsive than that. And I call it a moderate type of squish. It wasn't too much to where my foot's sinking in, or it wasn't too little to where I don't even feel it, but it was true to the KD line. A full length zoom unit where you really feel it. As for the fit of the shoe, again, it's my first wear, and it felt stiff, I'll be honest. It has the quad axial fly wire. It provided a great lockdown, and almost so great of a lockdown that it put more stress on the traction. And I'll get into that, how I felt about that in a second. But again, there's no risk of any shoe rollover. You're not going to have any issues like the KD11 where your shoe is almost like your foot's almost jumping outside of the shoe. And it hugged my foot very well. I enjoyed the fit of the forefoot. I enjoyed especially in the toe box especially, but where I didn't enjoy it was in the the middle of the shoe. It felt very narrow, oddly narrow. I think this is where the KD's got the reputation of being super narrow. I don't have a wide foot at all. I would say my foot's regular, but I still felt like an uncomfort with how narrow the shoe was. So for my wide foot players, I recommend half sizing up, or potentially even a full size up, just because of how narrow the shoe is, or entirely just staying away from the shoe. One thing that I found different with these was that it had pretty good arch support. I felt it pressing up against my arch and kind of giving me that rigidity when it comes to not letting my foot or letting my knee kind of bend in or cave in while I'm playing at all. It held its own in that regard. But again, this was a pretty tough break-in experience. I did not enjoy how kind of stiff the shoe felt. I mean, I know it felt like there was more to give. It felt like with more break-in, the shoe would be great. But I just know for this next couple of hoop sessions, it's not going to be my favorite go-to hoop shoe. It's not going to be the first one out of my rotation. Also, I thought it was pretty cool the way they made the eyes of the shoe in terms of the laces. I like the way that they're built into the shoe almost, and that kind of wraps around the whole, like the top of your foot. I think it really brought the shoe together and really made it wrap around my foot. That combined with the little arch support that you get, it really provided surprising support for a mid. So if you're a player that has a little bit of ankle problems, or you just like a little bit of a higher shoe, because I know Nike doesn't really make high tops anymore, this is definitely the running for the best you're gonna get. So I really enjoyed that. Now let's talk about the traction. I have to give these a 7 out of 10 for now. I just didn't love it. As I was saying before, the axial flywire provided such a good lockdown. It put stress on the traction, and it put stress on the traction to a point where, since it wasn't great, I was slipping a lot. Now, it wasn't like I was at risk of a slip out and kind of slipping and falling, but it just had no bite to it. And that's why I feel like there's a little bit of hope for the shoe. I feel that with just maybe a couple break-ins and getting that like that waxy outer layer, that's what I'm hoping it is, on the outsole, getting that wiped away, that'll be great. As I was doing my research for this video, I saw no one really was complaining about it. I know with Nikes and around this time, people did not love the translucent outsole. So to see no complaints about it gives me some hope for the future that it'll break in and get better. And that kind of leads me to outdoor use. I would not recommend it. I wouldn't recommend really any translucent outsole shoe to be used outdoors, but for this kind of like knobby, wavy traction, I feel that outside it's gonna wear off, and that's not what you want from your hoop shoe. Especially because, again, KD's, your full length zoom unit or Strobel unit, any shoe with a zoom air unit, I'm not recommending for outdoors because no one's sweeping an outdoor court. So there's a chance you step on a rock or something like that and you puncture the zoom unit, and that's no fun trying to get that replaced by Nike. Now, before we move on, let's get into that squeak test. Now, looking back on things, there honestly weren't that many colorways that dropped with the KD12, but all of them, my favorite ones would have to be either this Peach Jam EYBL colorway that I'm hooping in today, or the YouTube collab. I honestly just think it's so clean, so crisp, and just the colors blend together, especially that in like that bolded or black outlined Nike logo. It's tough. Now, in terms of where you can find the KD12 to get it, unfortunately, it's gonna be a little bit of a struggle. This is one of the shoes it's been out of commission for a while. Not a lot of hoopers played in it when it first came out that I saw, but now they're starting to go up in price because, especially the ones that haven't been worn yet. I'm like, here you can see prices like around 300, 200. Would I say it's worth it? If you're in love with the KD line, I would say it's worth it. If you're a top level hooper and you're really in your bag and you just need KDs to get the job done, then yes. If you're like that Jared Allen type of player, you can only hoop in the Kyrie 3s, but your preference is KDs, this is where it'd be worth it. Other than that, you can easily get like a KD17 or something newer for a lot cheaper. I'm also hoping that the shoe breaks in pretty nicely like the Sabrina 2s did, and even the KD17s, to where when I broke in the shoe, I got a little bit of extra space. Again, my true to size is a 14.5, and these are 14. So I was really kind of feeling it. I almost had to do that little kind of heel kick where you slide your shoe to the back of the shoe so your toes aren't scrunched up in the front. So I like the shoe. I like what it has to bring to the table, but I really need to start hooping in these a little bit more just so I can see, especially because of traction. That's a make or break deal for me. If the shoe doesn't have very good traction, then I can't wear it because of the cuts and the moves I make. So if you're a forward, or really you could be anybody for this shoe, I was a little concerned it didn't have that court feel that I'm in love with. So be aware of that. If you're a loaded ground hooper, super shifty, again, I wouldn't recommend these, but these are an endurance type of shoe, something you could really wear for a long time. I feel like with the Nike shoes, it's a go big or go home. The more you spend on the shoe, the better quality and the better materials you're gonna get for the most part. So I think this exemplifies that. Now, if I had to compare this shoe to any other shoe I've hooped in before, I would say it's the PG4. I think just the full length zoom unit and the lockdown it provides, I think they're very similar in that respect, and I really enjoyed the PG4. So I'm really hoping that this KD12 kind of equates to that in the long run. Overall, I'd have to give the shoe an 8.3 out of 10. Especially as for right now, this is kind of taking in the future of what the shoe could be. I like what I felt in this shoe, but I'm just real concerned about it living up to its potential. There's a lot in store for the shoe. That it's the full length zoom unit stitched in, and everybody was talking about it, especially at the time. But in terms of it connecting to today's standards, I'm just a little concerned of it living up to them. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for today's video. I appreciate you all for tuning in. As always, be sure to catch me next time where I'm going to review the Adizero Select 2.0. It's going to be I have some choice words for that shoe. But as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. This has been The Kick Report.